Hey everyone, welcome to Chitika, the RAG magazine, your go-to show on Retrieval-Augmented Generation, AI and tech. I am Bipul, passionate about RAG and AI technology. Today we have an exciting guest, Zhang Wong, founder of Driving Phase Consulting with 20 plus years of experience, has no code and AI solutions, have saved businesses over $1 million and 3,000 hours. He's worked across real estate, e-commerce, finance, and digital marketing, generating over 50 million in revenue. So we'll deep dive into RAG, AI automations, and the future of no-code tools. So let's get started. Zhang, it's really honor to have you here. I'm really glad that you block your time, manage your time. I'm really glad to meet you in person.
Well, good to meet you as well. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you taking the time as well.
Yeah. So, Zhang, I think you have more expertise in AI and no code. So, let's give our an audience like a brief intro how you went pursuing no code career in your life. Like, what interested you for no code?
This is kind of a fun story I always like to tell. So, because it's 100% true. So, I had an interest in no code for a while, but what really pushed me over the edge is during COVID. My daughter was 8 at the time, and only child, and so she was kind of by herself. She was, it was a frustrating time for her, and so her favorite time of the day was when the ice cream truck came by. And so, and what would happen is, she couldn't go by herself. She was 8. So she'd have to run around, get her money, wait till I got kind of dressed to go over and get ice cream for the ice cream truck. And a lot of times what happened is she was missing it. So what happened was she asked me if we could build an app to track the ice cream truck. And so when I looked at how much it would cost to build that, I was like, I couldn't say no as a father, but at the same time, we weren't going to pay that, X amount of dollars to get an app built. So what I did instead was I took a class on how to use Bubble, which is a pretty well-known no-code tool. I took that class. I ended up building a food truck. It was essentially a food truck tracking app. And what's interesting is we actually got that app licensed from a food truck association in Wisconsin. And so, here's an idea, from my 8-year-old daughter that we built in no code that was generating revenue for us. And so that was 4 or 5 years ago. And then, so I started building a lot of tools for my own businesses, and then was having such success with it that I started building tools for other people. And that turned into Drive Phase, consulting today. So yeah, it was ultimately my daughter kind of helped me get into it.
It's like it's really amazing to hear that your daughter led you to more motivated toward
Yeah.
no code. So this is my personal interest. Like I have been seeing no code really booming, really developing. So um, can you just give me an overview, like how this is going to evolve in future? How no code is developing, and how this will be after 5 years?
Ooh, that's a tough question, but I'll do my best. I'll give you my opinion because obviously the reality is I don't know if anyone knows where we'll be in 5 years, just because it's
Yeah,
moving so quickly, right?
yeah,
So this is gonna be my best guess. So it's an interesting time because I think no code up until kind of the last few years was really a great tool for non-technical founders to build products, inexpensively and quickly, right? I think the advent of AI coding has created a very strong competitor. My general thought is, if you are a non-technical, if you come from a technical background, the
yeah,
AI coding is going to be an exciting development for you. If you come
yeah,
from a non-technical background, I still believe in the overall benefits of building in no code.
yeah,
For a non-technical founder, I actually believe that the ultimate winner will be the combination of AI and no code, right? Because you kind of get the
yeah,
best of both worlds. Because the challenge for a non-technical founder is, if AI builds the product in code, you still have to deploy that product and maintain that product. And
yeah,
so I think that's still a challenge for a non-technical founder. But if you look at two of the main platforms that we use, which is Bubble and WeWeb, they both are launching pretty robust AI features that really accelerate the timeline. And so for someone with a non-technical background, it it offers the best of both worlds, where it very quickly generates an application, but now it's in a framework that a non-technical founder can maintain and make iterations to very quickly, versus something
Yeah,
that's built in code. I think you still need to understand code to be
yeah.
able to maintain that product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So, I think more of our listeners are from maybe from non-technical background, or maybe
Okay.
they don't know anything about no code. So, can you give us a brief about this no code infrastructure, this platform, like how this works? How can someone build a code without knowing it? Like how this works?
Sure, sure. Yeah. So the best way to think about no code is to think of it as visual programming, right? And I tell people
Yeah,
that no code platforms today are like a WordPress or Wix for websites, but now you're doing it for applications, right? So no code platforms are basically drag and drop editors that build not only the front end piece of it, the visual parts of an application, but also the back end workflows, right? When you look at an application, especially kind of a business application, some are more complicated than others, but if you break it down to kind of the core pieces, a business application is really about creating data, reading data, manipulating data, displaying data, right? And so those are what no code does, is take kind of pre-built drag and drop elements that take those functions in a pre-built manner, and then you can kind of piece those together to create an entire workflow behind kind of the front end of your application. And so you can build very, very robust application. Now, sometimes, a lot of my team actually comes from a coding background, so sometimes they actually try and go to code really quickly because I think sometimes they think it's easier. But the reality is, like, you can build just about anything in no code. Let me take that back. There are some applications you couldn't do, games are very difficult. Something that's very, very visual, a lot of
yeah,
like heavy animation, that would be a little bit difficult in no code today. But if you look at a basic application, a dashboard in a business application, 90% of those can be built in no code. Sometimes you have to be a little creative in it, right?
yeah,
But if you are, you can build just about anything. We haven't had a situation yet where we haven't been able to build something in no code.
yeah. So, what I think personally, because no code, I think this is a budget efficient way to create, I think, softwares, since the technology is evolving really, really great. So I think it's great for developers. It's, I think, budget efficient maybe
Yes, well,
for,
it does it in
yeah,
time efficient, I think, too. I think the
yeah,
time where we've seen no code really shine is, I tell people, minimal viable product, right? So
yeah,
most of the time you're going to develop a minimal viable product, and no code does definitely accelerate that timeline. But I tell people, building an MVP is just probably 1% of the job is done, right? Really, the work
yeah,
happens is when you have users using it, they're using it in a way that you don't expect them to use. You have to iterate on
yeah,
that product. No
yeah.
code really makes that process really, really fast and efficient. So I think that's really where no code, I think, shines and still has an advantage in my opinion, especially for a non-technical founder over AI coded products. So but that's where I
Yeah.
really see no code shine.
So your business is entirely based on no code, or you provide other solutions too?
So basically, yeah. So we basically build custom no code applications within the framework of full on applications. Someone will build, pieces of automation, and then we also kind of implement AI within a lot of those projects as well. For some projects, we've implemented voice AI into some automation workflows. And then we've also used AI within, like I said, other custom applications that we've built as well. So
So yeah. So since you mentioned you combine AI with tools, so what had my curiosity, like uh, the world is more working toward AI agents now. So how
Correct.
can we integrate like AI agents with no code, and possibly how can RAG influence it? So can you tell me a bit about it?
Sure. So I think we've had a couple instances, and I have to be careful about not giving away too much of anyone's idea, but basically we've had a couple instances where we've had a kind of marketplace applications integrated with voice AI, and we've also had we've had some cool applications for voice AI. I can tell you that. Like I think there's some cool applications that we've done for that. Um, you know, Specific to RAG, I will tell you that, as you know, any AI is only as good as the data that powers it, right? And
Yeah,
so I really think where RAG comes in is, having a little bit more control over what data is feeding that. So if you look at a voice AI, right? A voice AI that we've used a lot of times, that's specifically, we've used it for sales use cases as well as customer service use cases for a specific brand. And so what
yeah,
that voice AI needs is to be able to, understand, be able to answer frequently asked questions for that brand and things like that. A lot of that's not going to be able to be found. It's probably 0.1% likely that your out of the box AIs are going to be trained on the content needed for that AI to perform that customer service job. So that's where kind of that RAG AI, to be able to feed it specific data on, like I said, whether it's kind of FAQs on a specific product or brand, allows you to really target it and apply it towards very specific use cases versus kind of more generally trained AI models. Does that make sense? But like I said, that voice AIs are we've had some very interesting use cases, and it's a pretty robust uh, technology, and the cost of it has come down to the point where a lot of small businesses can benefit it, although a lot of small businesses aren't aware that they can benefit from that type of technology.
so yeah, these are like really great insights. So let's kick things a bit about RAG. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Hmm.
Some of our audience which may not know this. So this thing is basically about pulling the most relevant data
Hmm.
from various sources and then generating context-aware responses using AI. So this way, I think AI can give us more detailed responses. I think this helps AI to stop hallucinating. So
Hmm.
where do you see no-code applications? They can develop. They can like evolve by using technologies such as RAG. How this is going to um, help in their evolvement? Like how this is going to help them to improve? How this is going to affect the entire no-code market?
Yeah, so I think it fits really. I've No code and AI, I think, fit really well together, right? Because no code has all been about, number one, bringing products to market quickly and cost effectively, as you said earlier. Excuse me, one second. Cost effectively, and so most AIs you're accessing through some sort of API. What's really great about no code is you're able to kind of create API integrations very easily, right? And so, excuse me, one second.
Yeah,
Um, and so, what AI allows us to do is it really allows us to extend the functionality of a no code application quite significantly, and again, without spending a lot of time, right? Because a lot of times what it is most of the functionality with AI is really in the training, right? And so if we
yeah,
build AI into our no code applications, right, we set up the initial APIs, then what's nice about that is maybe it takes us a little bit more time to set up the initial integrations, but now you've got an application where a non-technical founder can extend the functionality of an application that's already been built. And in a lot of
yeah,
cases now, you don't have to rely on a developer to build that new functionality.
yeah.
You can kind of train that functionality into the AI itself, right? And so that really empowers. I mean, I think the thing that's most exciting about technologies like no code, like AI, is it really bridges the gap between non-technical and technical founders, whereas now non-technical founders can build really robust products without having that coding background. What we saw, and we still see, right, because a lot of people aren't aware of no code, is that a lot of times there's a gap between the people that know the problem set, know the product the best, and the people that can build the product, right? And so
Yeah.
that can create a problem, right? And so now with AI and no code, you've shrunk that gap where now the people that understand the problem the best, have used the product themselves, can also be the ones to build it, which I think can
Yeah.
lead to better products overall and faster innovation because of that, right? Because now you're not relying on being able to
Yeah.
translate the problem to the developer. You can go in
Yeah.
and develop it yourself. Does that make sense? I mean, I think that's where I've seen a lot of excitement around these technologies.
Yeah. So um let's channel the conversation a bit into different sector. I think uh, so the things like AI and no code is evolving a lot. I think
Hmm.
so. Uh, and the developing industry, like coding industry, is also really changing. So
Yes.
how things like no code and AI development is influencing this entire developer markets. So what, and since our most of our audience and also our targeted audience is more developers, so what are the things developers should integrate? What are the measures they should take to um, be in the trend, be in the competitive market? What are the things they should really focus on?
Ah, that's a loaded question. So it's, I tell people, there's, I don't know if this will resonate with your audience, but there's a saying. So there's a hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, that he used to
Yeah,
say, "You don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where the puck is going." Right.
yeah, yeah,
And I think the biggest challenge right now is, for the first time, it's virtually impossible to know where the puck is going. Right.
yeah,
And we were talking about earlier, right? DeepSeek got it, introduced within a couple weeks, right? No one even knew about that,
yeah,
3-4 weeks ago, and that's
yeah,
changed the market completely, right? And so and the speed and cost at which that was developed
yeah,
changes the potential of this industry, exponentially, right? And so now
yeah,
you've got something that didn't exist in most people's minds, a month ago. Now you've got to account for that because, at least now we kind of, with OpenAI, we kind of knew what the general trend was and the speed at which they were developing. It seems
yeah,
from everything that I've seen with DeepSeek that we can take those timelines and throw it out the window.
yeah,
So I think some of the skill sets are going to be flexibility and just constant upskilling as far as what tools you're working with. And on some of them, I tell people this is, unfortunately, I think what a lot of developers in the tech and people in the tech space are going to have to place bets on technologies, because a lot of times if you you can invest time in learning a new tech, and
yeah,
it could be obsolete by the time you master it, right? And so on
yeah,
some level, you have to place some bets on what you think will win, or at least
yeah,
kind of spread your place your bets on a couple different techs so that you can kind of remain relevant as much as possible. Now, on the flip side, I would also say this is, if you're building technology, part of it is the technical side of it, but where a
yeah,
lot of clients that we work with really appreciate it is we understand the technical side of it, but we also understand the business side of it, right? And that's where
yeah,
we add a lot of value, because we can kind of are consultants of, okay, this is how to build it, but we also say, should you even build it? This
yeah,
is how you should build it, right? And so there's some soft skills that I think you can kind of make yourself, kind of invaluable, so to speak. Does that make sense? I think that's where we've tried to
yeah,
do as well, is not just the tech, not just laser focus on the technical side, but kind of a 360-degree view of understanding, the business ramifications of the technical products that we're building. Does that make sense? And I think
yeah,
that's where you can kind
yeah,
of make yourself very invaluable by understanding all of that.
yeah. Because I think, um, personally, what I think, because for me, I'm more into digital marketing background. So what
Okay.
I think is distribution is more important than the product. This is what I
I
think.
agree with that.
So since you are in consulting, I think
Yeah.
because before building a product, we should know its business market, its uh, capabilities, how it can upscale, how we can even if it will work or not. I think
Yeah.
knowing this thing uphand, it is more important, and I think it's always better to have someone give us this insights. So I think this is always good. So can you share us some insights where you have helped your business clients by consulting? Like there may
Yeah.
be some like queries, because most of what I have came across is most of the people think we need to build a great product, but uh, what I have in my mind is before building that they should come up with some sorts of analyzation, some sorts of
Mhm.
uh, things they should think before building anything. So since you are also in consulting background, so
Yeah.
what are the things we need to think before building a product?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I was actually gonna answer this question before you asked it, because as we were talking, and I 100% agree with. So, having been kind of coming from an entrepreneurial background myself, where I've made a lot of these mistakes, um, one of the things where I've seen this a lot is I mentor for the Founder Institute, which is an accelerator program. So I mentor at the Philadelphia um, uh,
Yeah,
chapter, I guess is how to refer to it. And you if you talk to the kind of participants that I mentor, they'll tell you 100%. One of the first things I tell them is your number one job, and all of them are thinking about building product, building product, and I agree with you 100%. And I
yeah,
said your number one job before you do anything else is to validate that you're working on a problem that is painful enough that someone will pay for it. And I
yeah,
tell them that you don't ask them if they'll pay for it, because I've actually done that myself and then been misled. And by the time when you actually ask them to pay for it, they don't want to pay for it. Right? And so I
yeah,
tell them the best way to do it is find a way to make, to have them pay for a solution, right? Because if
yeah,
they're willing to pay for the solution, then that's validation that it's painful enough that you're onto something, right? And so
yeah,
sometimes that might mean not even building a product, and it might mean offering it as like a consulting service first, right? And so one of the nice things about going down that path is you, number one, validate that they'll pay for it, right? Because you can offer it as a service. Number two is you work very closely with the customer and you get a deeper understanding of the problem that they're experiencing. And then
yeah,
what I typically say is what you can do is, if you're offering as a service, you can build an internal tool to help you
yeah,
deliver that process, more efficiently. You
yeah,
get to, you're your first user of that product. You get to see, okay, well, this is better to use, XYZ. And if you're using AI, you can kind of tweak your algorithm. You can, kind of your prompts and things like that, so that
yeah,
it helps you deliver that consulting service better. And then
yeah,
that slowly can evolve into that that tool that you built for your own internal use can eventually evolve into some sort of SaaS platform that is self-service, and then you're
yeah,
delivering that same consulting service at a much lower cost efficiently, and then you win because now you can sit back and and you don't have to meet with every client and deliver that service. You built that consulting service into a repeatable process and systematized it into a SaaS solution, and whether or not that can, may or may not incorporate AI into it. And so I think
yeah,
that, to me, and now it doesn't work in every situation, but if you can do something like that, you can save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money. And then by the time you do build, you understand the problem better, you validated they paid for it. And 9 times out of 10, you can take the money that they paid for it to fund, the building of the product. And that way you don't have to raise money to do it. And so I 1000% agree with you that a lot of times people just build product way too quickly, and distribution
yeah,
is more important than the product itself. 100%.
yeah. So uh, let's talk about your side of a business. Like, what are the things, like what are the pain points which no code developers are facing? Like if any guy like me, let's assume I am a developer, and any guy like me will have to identify the market, will have to see what the problems no code developers are facing. Like, is there any certain of market gap into no code, like any problem which you hope like someone will come in future and solve it? Is there anything like that?
Um, there were. I think they're starting to get solved. Bubble was the first one that came on the market,
Yeah,
probably 10, 12 years ago. They were bootstrapped for quite some time. And then I think in the last 3 to 4 years, they just raised $100 million. And you probably know when
yeah,
once something like that happens, then everyone kind of their eyes get big and then everyone else wants to get to the mix. Now, Bubble created some opportunities, quite honestly.
yeah,
I learned on Bubble, so I'm obviously biased towards Bubble, but they definitely have created some opportunities for other companies to come in. One of the biggest gripes that happens with Bubble, number one, I've seen where Bubble, as the user base scales, as the data kind of scales, like we have seen some performance issues with Bubble. So there are solutions on the market that kind of address that. The other thing that's kind of happened is Bubble went to a workflow based pricing. So
yeah,
basically, each action that happens on the application has a certain workflow usage on it. And
yeah,
so you basically kind of pay for the number of workflows, which the challenge becomes like sometimes it's not predictable. And so you build it in Bubble and all of a sudden you get a bill for $500 that you weren't
yeah,
expecting. And so that created a lot of people to move off the platform. So there are platforms like WeWeb, Xano, Toddle, that are
yeah,
really starting to get on the market, that are, number one, are built a little bit better for scale,
yeah,
and then also again kind of have removed that workflow pricing to make it a little bit more predictable. And so they're gaining a lot of market share very quickly. The one that we had a gap for a while, but we've been using, there is a tech stack that we use now that does address this. So HIPAA, if you're not familiar, is in the US, is healthcare. Any application that stores like personally identifiable health related data, needs to be what's called HIPAA compliant in the US. And so for a while, there weren't many no code tools that were HIPAA compliant. But WeWeb for the front end and Xano for the back end, or actually Supabase is another back end tool that we've used that is HIPAA compliant. So that is a HIPAA compliant tech stack. And so that has opened up some opportunities for healthcare related businesses for us to be able to utilize
yeah,
no code with healthcare related industries. So that's an exciting opportunity. So I mean, those are the big ones. I would say a while back, we're not in this space, but like gaming was an area where no code really wasn't. It was very difficult to build a no code game, but I'm even starting to see some no code tools address that market as well. Like I said, it's not really an industry that we work with, but I know it's one that some people really enjoy. So that's another area. But I mean, those are the biggest ones that I can think of that but I think they're being addressed quickly, because I mean, there's companies that are raising money in this no code space that are able to address it. And then
yeah,
I am seeing more and more of them are very quickly, and I think it's almost a must, starting to incorporate AI into the building of it. So I know WeWeb, we're actually one of the beta testers. They just incorporated a pretty robust AI component into it, where you can build, like Bubble has a AI component where you can build the user interface, but it really doesn't
yeah,
do much as far as the workflows. WeWeb introduced something where the AI can build not only the front end, but also the back end workflows as well. And actually, can actually help with API building and things like that. So I think that's going to be kind of an area where we're going to see a lot of innovation. That combination of AI and no code, I think, is going to be a really interesting thing to watch going forward.
so yeah, so talking about no code, since you mentioned earlier, like it's really hard to integrate no code for games. So in future, like can you think no code can evolve at a way where uh, games can also be developed on this platform? Or no code is more of other software things? So do you think like um, really high end games can be built on this platform? Like, is no code uh, that efficient? Like, is like do no code have that some sorts of capability to build high end games? Is this possible?
It's one of those questions that I guess the question is today. Um,
Yeah,
I think it's a high end games is probably a challenge today. Like I said, I have not used. There are definitely some new tools that I've seen. I kind of follow a lot of stuff on Twitter and Reddit. I've seen a couple tools that have been launched, no code tools to build games. I have not personally used them, but my guess is that they're probably pretty low level games. Again, I can't confirm that 100%. High end games in no code, I agree with you, can be a challenge. As you said,
yeah,
performances it can be a challenge because at the end of the day, I I think you're right because I explain a lot of times no code is like building an app within an interpreter, right?
yeah,
You've got the visual builder, but ultimately the end result is still in code, right? So you almost have
yeah,
that extra layer. You have to translate what you did on the visuals, interface into code. And so with a high end game, that can create a, that's where you could get a little bit of a performance issue. So I think probably today a high end game would be a challenge, but
yeah,
I wouldn't bet against it being a possibility. And as far as how long, I couldn't give you a guess because, like I said, I mean, it could be. I think it's probably the best answer I give is it's probably quicker than I think. Is probably the right answer. Is that it's probably I think they probably can do it quicker than I think. But as of today, I do think a high end game would be a challenge. Just I don't think the performance level would be there. And I
yeah,
think to do that level of graphical interface in no code would it just you would have to build so much. What works about a business application is, as I said earlier, you've got kind of the even though each application is different, the pieces, the building blocks are still very similar, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe the calculations are a little bit more complex in some cases. Maybe there's a little bit more data manipulation, or maybe there's just more data. In a game, you just you don't have the confines that you would in a business application, and so to build a no code tool to do that seems like a pretty big undertaking, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible.
yeah. So in future I would like to see like no code also implemented for game, because what I think is any innovation in any sector is always great to see, right? Like
Yeah, 1,000%.
no one knew like things like AI and no code will come
Yeah.
back in, if we see like even on 2010 back in like 10 15 years from now. So I think it's always great to see things like to evolve, like some different tech come to different industry. I think this really helps in developing. So now let's talk about DeepSeek. Internet is talking about DeepSeek. So it's a tool like it's been gaining really great popularity recently in AI and RAG world. So how do we see models of DeepSeek? I think our own model is really like it's really impressive. I really loved it, even used it. So how do you see DeepSeek affecting the RAG pipelines, especially for no code solutions? How do you see like how can it affect the no code industry? How this is going to change it?
Well, so yeah, I think it's interesting, right? In some sense, it fits right in with the mission of no code, right? The mission of no
Yeah,
code is to to provide a platform to allow non-technical founders or even technical founders to build products quicker and less expensively. If you look
yeah,
at the data that I've seen around DeepSeek, it's it's mind blowing how much faster. If we're to believe that what's been put out there, it's mind blowing how much faster and cheaper and more efficient. I've even heard that just kind of even the efficiency of the consumption of DeepSeek is significantly better than OpenAI. And so if you play that out, you combine that with the power of no code, that just kind of raises the ceiling even a little bit more and lowers
Yeah.
the cost a little bit more of what can be done, whether it's a technical founder or non-technical founder. It's exciting because again, it just fits in with what no code's trying to do, and it just it's just basically improves the metrics on what was out there already. And so I think, like I said, I think it does. The only thing it can do is increase, raise the ceiling of what can be done, combining no code and AI 100%.
Yeah. So, like, I have been hearing whispers about OpenAI O1 models and DeepSeek R1. Also, like in LinkedIn, there are lots of debates and posts going on. Like many entrepreneurs are integrating DeepSeek R1 to their businesses because I think they provide more budget efficient solution.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your views on it? Like, and do you have anything to say about comparison between O1 model and DeepSeek R1? What do you think about this?
So if I'm being honest with you, I am a little bit hesitant with my adoption of DeepSeek,
Yeah,
because of security concerns of this originating in China. You might
yeah,
look at me and be like, well, what? So I was born in the U.S.
yeah,
My parents are from Taiwan, and so I will say that I do have concerns because when you look at certainly you look at what can be done with it, and it's very attractive, right? But
yeah,
you also look at what you would need, and once you integrate something like a DeepSeek into your applications,
yeah,
it's mind-boggling the access that DeepSeek now has to your applications, right? And we talked
yeah,
about like potentially working in healthcare, right? And so now
yeah,
you've got personal health data running through DeepSeek. I do have concerns about giving access to that, just because I know so much is state run. Anything that's coming out
yeah,
of China is typically state supported, and
yeah,
so that does give me pause, if I'm being honest with you. And so I'm a little hesitant to adopt DeepSeek at this point in time. At some point I may not have any choice because it just just because
yeah.
it's going to be what people
It can
want. But
be, yeah.
yeah,
If it be really great, something really tempting to avoid. I think so.
yeah.
I think DeepSeek is open source model. I think I like what I think in future they will like entire internet is discussing about some sorts of data concerns. So I think if in future they come up with some policy or let's say laws stating that this won't bias according to since it come from China.
Yeah.
So can tech entrepreneurs can a person like you will not think twice before integrating it to their software?
Ask that question another way. I'm sorry. You think
So
would I think twice about using it? Like if we were to take some of those security concerns out of it, is that what you're asking? Like,
no, like if in future like DeepSeek comes with some sorts of policy, some sorts of law, like let's say some sorts of business law,
something to make me
like
feel more comfortable with some of the security
yeah,
concerns. What you're
yeah.
asking? Yeah,
So
no, 100%, right? Because um, you know, as an entrepreneur, right? So I've built some tools right now, and I have one right now that I've incorporated OpenAI, and I've got other API costs, right? So I have
yeah,
I built a no code tool, and it's called Signal Board, where it basically I put in keywords, and then it pulls in posts on right now Twitter and LinkedIn, or no, Twitter and Reddit, posts on those platforms that have those keywords. I'm getting ready to
yeah,
add LinkedIn and Facebook and potentially a few others. Those APIs have a cost to it. What I also
yeah,
have in the tool is basically it reviews each post, and it actually evaluates it for buying intent, right? So
yeah,
based on what that client is looking for, it's going to evaluate, is this someone that could be a potential customer for you. The other thing it does is it uses AI to draft a response to that post very quickly, and then you can respond to these posts on Twitter and Reddit.
Yeah.
So you've got multiple APIs, plus you've got the OpenAI API, which each call is very inexpensive, right? But now as
Yeah.
you scale, that cost increases pretty dramatically. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, if you've got a less expensive option that from everything that I've heard that works better, right? then then
Yeah.
then I think you could do the math, right? From a business perspective, it makes a ton of sense. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, if I can get comfortable around some of the security concerns, then why wouldn't I, right? Because it's again,
Yeah.
it performs better and it's cheaper, and also maybe expends less energy, because that's also another kind of ethical concern that people have with AI. Then yeah, well, why not? So yeah, but
Yeah.
it's always a loaded question, right? So I mean, there's so many factors that fall into it, but yeah, I mean, I think if you could get me comfortable around that, then there's no reason why I wouldn't use it 100%.
Yeah. So let's shift gears on automation.
Right.
Zhang, your firm is all about automation workflows. So how do you see technology like RAG enhancing or disrupting traditional AI automations?
You said traditional what automations?
AI automation.
I mean, it comes down to what we talked about, right? What's exciting about AI agents, as we mentioned, is
Yeah.
in particular the ability to make it really good at a very specific role, right? And then really,
Yeah.
if you need to, you can have multiple agents that are really good at very specific roles that kind of work together to do a more complex role. And
Yeah.
so, but as we talked about, AI is only as good as the information that it has. Um,
Yeah.
and from what I've seen, at least so far, the more narrow you make the AI focus, the better it performs. And when you give it too much leeway in what it can do, that's when I start to see some of the hallucinations that people talk about, right? Where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
where did that come from, right? And so
Yeah.
I think when you look at the fact that, hey, it performs better when you give it a narrow focus, and then with RAG, if you provide it the information it needs to provide that narrow focus, then you've got a
Yeah.
really inexpensive, really efficient employee that costs you basically next to nothing, that does a better job than a paid employee. You
Yeah.
know, that's where the downside of all of this is when you play that out, like what's going to be left for humans to do is really the question that I've asked myself multiple
Yeah.
times. Is as a human, it's like you you're looking at it. Used to be the innovations affected just the low paying jobs, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of the manual labor and kind of the data entry, but you're seeing AI affect the really high level jobs too, like where AI is
Yeah.
reading medical test results
Yeah.
and writing legal documents, right? And doing things like that are are affecting people that went to school for 8 years or more to do and are used to making a very high salary. I think
Yeah.
that's really kind of the questions that come to mind for me is how does that affect not only just AI agents, but how does that affect humans, right? Like it's
Yeah.
that's the most interesting part is like I said, like this is the first innovation that I can think of that really is disrupting jobs that were normally like kind of untouchable, right? Like, oh, this will always be kind of we always need a human to do XYZ. No, that's not true anymore. And I think now that with Elon Musk starting to kind of incorporate kind of not only just AI, but now you've got kind of you know uh, basically robots,
Yeah.
incorporated AI. Now you really kind of you look at that, you play that out to its logical end. It's like, okay, well, if one of the big gaps for AI is there's no physical connection to the world. Well, now if you do create a physical connection to the world, there's very little that if you play it out, that the technology can't do over the next
Yeah.
5, 10, 20 years.
So yeah, exactly. I think for this question, like I think I have a best answer because fortunately I was able to have a podcast with a career coach. She was a hiring manager for like 20 to 30 years of her entire life. And I asked this exact question, like AI and things like RAG is really evolving in coming, like, let's say around 20 to 30 years. What's what it will be impossible for AI to do, like, um, can this replace jobs? So what I learned from that podcast is there is always going to be more possibilities, because if we see, like, when internet came in, many things changed, many work changed, many jobs changed. And exactly, like, if AI is there, like if AI is going to replace some jobs, uh, I think, because I think, first, I think AI is never going to replace our job. Someone knowing AI is going to replace our job, because I think it's totally there to build up our productivity. I think this is what, and even if it's going to, I think people are talking like AI is giving us really great content, really great blog. So, uh, can this really disrupt this blog writer markets? For an example, so what I think is, like, it always needs some sorts of human input. Like, it always needs some sorts of human creativity. What I think is AI can develop entirely. It can be as good as I think, but I think we have something up above our shoulder, which is always as more creative. It, like, I think AI will not be able to match our creativity. This is something AI can't match, because this is entirely our evolution. Like, we have spent millions and millions years evolving, and I think some tech can't do. Like, I think this is some sorts of God creation. So even if it's coming to change job, I think there will be more evolving job. Like, uh, before 10 to 15 years, we didn't have this AI engineers, we didn't have this AI chatbot managers. They are like AI data analysts. I think um, when the technology evolve, it may do some changes in job or some changes in tech market, but it always bring opportunity. It always bring some new things. Like, I think we can't think of this at present. So I think this is, yeah, this is what I think, because AI will be able to do really great things. This is going to build, like, boost up our productivity, because a person like me personally, I use AI most of the time, like everything, almost everything. But I don't think like it's going to replace someone like me, because I am here giving it command. I am here editing its entire query, using its data, using its responses for my benefit, to um, like educate me, to know things better, to create strategies better. I don't think AI is going to uh, take over jobs. It's always going to create more opportunity. I think why entire job market is telling, oh, AI is here, it will take over job. I think even if it is, this will create more opportunity. What do you think on this?
So I couldn't wait to. So here's my thought, and the reality is I don't think either of us know, but my thought is AI is just different. This is a different type of technology that we haven't seen
Yeah,
before, because
yeah,
we've never seen a technology that by like its whole existence is to improve, right? Like it's
yeah,
supposed to improve, right? And so
yeah,
we've never seen a technology that is meant to self-improve. And
yeah,
so I don't know if I fully agree with you that humans will always be more creative than AI, because that's what I think. My concern is that that thought is constrained by what we know about AI today. The
yeah,
reality is we don't know how AI is going to evolve, right? And
yeah,
so creativity is a process, right? And so if you think about it, right, is my daughter and I have been watching the Marvel movies in a timeline,
yeah,
right? So we just finished up Endgame, And there's a scene in there where Doctor Strange kind of goes through and he thinks through 14 million different
Yeah.
scenarios, and it's like, oh, we win in this one scenario. Well, if you think of the creative process, that's a little bit what's happening, right? Like, you're coming up with all these ideas, and then you're eventually kind of narrowing it down. So if an AI can come up with 14 million scenarios in the time that we can come up with two,
Yeah.
that even though it's not true creativity as humans would think about it, the end
Yeah.
result would be the same as creativity. Does that make sense? And so
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think, I'd hope that we'd always be ahead of it, but you can
Yeah.
also see scenario, if we're not responsible with it, that it can evolve faster than we can put the leash on it. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I think it is something that we do just have to make sure we're concerned with. And I think, I don't know if I always trust the people in charge to be responsible with it, because I think they see dollar signs with it. But
Yeah.
I think that, the problem is we're limited to what we think AI can do based on what we know today. The
Yeah.
reality is, with the speed at which AI is evolving, we don't know what the limits are today. And so
Yeah.
I think we have to be careful that we realize our own limitations, and even imagining our own boundaries with AI, because I don't think we truly understand what they are right now.
Yeah.
And at the speed at which you're seeing things evolve, we can fall behind very quickly. So
Yeah.
I try to be careful not to have it come across as kind of doomsday. I don't think that's the case, but I also think as humans we need to be thinking ahead, and I think this is where what we talked about, the skill sets of being flexible, constantly learning, constantly adding to your skill set, constantly knowing what new technology are coming out. And that's where, stuff like your magazine and your, what you guys do with educating your audience is important,
Yeah.
because I think the ones that will, what I do know is the ones that will get left behind first are the ones that don't know how to harness the power of AI, of these other
Yeah.
technologies. Those are the ones that are going to definitely get left behind first. At least the ones that understand it, at least we'll buy ourselves some more time. But I think this is a time where it's just you need to be evolving very quickly personally, because I think it's just, otherwise you're going to be obsolete if you don't kind of continually reinvent yourself. So that's my take on it. Who knows
Yeah.
who's right, but I may be a little bit, I don't want to say pessimistic, because I don't think that's the right word, but I do have some more concerns around AI, because I do always think that I have to be careful of judging this technology based on what I know today,
Yeah.
because I think the rules are going to change so quickly that what I know today is going to be obsolete literally next month. And so you then have to then reimagine a new potential future of what AI can do, just so quickly. So that's my take, is that I may not be quite as optimistic. Like, I may be a little bit. I have more of a, maybe a realistic view. I don't know what the word is, but I do have probably some more concerns than I think you might.
So, do you think like um, will uh, AI evolution will decrease the opportunity we have out there in job market, or it's going to increase it? My point of view, it's always going to increase it. But what do you think? Like, is it going to increase or is it going to decrease the opportunity we have out there for jobs?
I gotta be honest.
Yeah,
If
you
I
should
had to
be.
guess, I think it's going to decrease it. Let me play this out, right? Let's play this out, right?
Yeah,
So, you've got manual labor jobs right now. You've got kind of, and that's go all the way up to kind of higher level jobs, right? That, require, 8, 10 years, 12 years of training, right? And so for those that don't have access to that education, right? So then they may be limited to more like kind of data entry, lower level jobs. We know
yeah,
for a fact that those types of jobs can be replaced by AI, right?
yeah. Easily praised. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, and so the the challenge, and I think even if you look at the general trends, the gap between kind of the wealthy and the pool has widened over time. I don't see AI reversing that trend. I see it probably making it wider, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't, you know, what if you don't have access to the education, then what can you do? And you've got kind of, if you, let's just imagine Elon Musk or someone else has created those robots to be able to do a lot of the manual labor jobs in manufacturing, agriculture, whatever it might be. The data entry jobs, I don't think that's an issue. So then what types of jobs could replace that? I don't know. And then going up the food chain, you look at, medical jobs, legal. You can easily see those jobs kind of
Yeah.
being replaced too. And so the issue I see is the problem is going to be that the speed at which these jobs can be replaced versus the time it would take for a human to learn a new job, that even, let's say even you're right? So let's say you're
Yeah.
right that these jobs are replaced with new jobs. By the time a human learns the skills to take that new job on, has AI already then created a better solution for it? And I think that the two things that are different about AI are the speed and the self-learning aspect of AI make this technology very different in the way it's going to affect us, humans. And I think
Yeah.
and the issue is that that curve only gets steeper. I don't see that curve flattening out where it starts slowing down as far as the innovations. I only see that increasing. The more the AI learns, right, by default, you see it just innovating faster, right? And
Yeah.
so I hope we don't have your audience depressed after this, but that but that is where I do see it's again, I'm probably talking a worst case scenario, and it's probably not something that happens over time, but it is a real. At the same time, I also think it's a realistic concern that as humans we have to answer before it's too late, right? Like we have to figure
Yeah.
out. And you see some of the concepts of universal basic income, of kind of as the solution. I'm not saying that's the solution, but I think there's some people that have played that scenario out. It's like, oh crap, well, there's nothing else for us to do. What are we gonna do? I don't know. I look at, really the only areas that I see is maybe entertainment, and, people are always going to need places to live. And so you need to make sure, kind of real estate is another kind of area where you see kind of industries that
Oh.
entertainment and real estate are kind of two industries I've said to myself, like, okay, well, and even then I can see like there's possibilities. So, I think it's really just, it's an interesting kind of scenario to play out in your head to figure out what are the potential jobs we could have. Off the top of my head, I'd love to hear from you what jobs you think could be the ones to replace it. As you kind of just hypothetically play out, okay, these jobs get replaced. What can humans now? Okay, well, let's just say those jobs get replaced. What can humans do now? You play that out over kind of several iterations. I'd love to kind of understand like what your hypothesis is to what those jobs might look like, because conceptually right now I can't imagine what that could be. So
Yeah.
so it's interesting. And like I said, I mean, I don't say that to be kind of a doomsday sayer, but it is something that I thought. On the flip side, I do think it is a conversation we need to keep having, because if we
Yeah.
wait too long to have it, then you could see just a ton of people without purposes. And I think that's a problem, right? Because I think having a purpose is really important to humans, right? I think to their
Yeah.
happiness, their mental health. And so I think it is going to be a question that we're going to have to answer as a race. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is the direction you thought this conversation was going, but I think it's an important question, especially as it relates to AI. And the release of DeepSeek, I think only kind of, I think kind of proves my point. I think is that it's just happening faster and faster, and if we don't anticipate the speed, we will get left behind. So
Yeah. So, um, at this point, after hearing your thoughts, I am a bit of a confused, but let's hope for the better, right? So, what I
Confused, are you
think is like,
confused, like, because you don't understand what I'm saying, or you're confused at what might
no, no,
happen?
like what might happen, like because AI is really evolving like this fast rate, like we can't say what's going to happen in next even 5 years, because we have seen like AI has evolved like even after a year they are like evolving really fast, really great. So I don't think I can imagine a scenario what can happen after 5 years, but let's always hope for better. So but
I agree with you. I agree with
yeah,
you.
so what I also think, like even the medicine, even the real estate and entertainments can be affected by AI.
Agree. Yeah,
uh,
agree.
they are all like, currently I think there is every possibility. Even I think in farming, even we go in very deep roots. Even I think AI can influence every industry. But
Yeah.
let's just hope for better. I think.
Well, I think
Uh,
it's hope for the best, but let's also plan for the worst, though. I would say let's
yeah.
do both. I think we need to do both. I think I agree with it. Let's hope for the best for my daughter's sake. I have a 12, she's 12 now. I hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, for my daughter's sake, I think we need to plan and have these conversations,
Yeah.
because if we're wrong and we hope for the best and we're wrong, then you could see, this is a situation where this affects millions, if not billions, right? And so I
Yeah.
think it is important to have the conversations. So I agree with you. 100%, let's hope for the best, but I do think we need to plan for the worst as well,
Yeah.
or at least talk about it,
So
right?
yeah, this is like, let's take worst case scenario. Is like, I think the pretty less creative jobs are something which are going to really replaced by AI. Something like
Yeah,
data
yeah,
entry jobs, something like creating some sorts of like graphic designers.
yeah,
AI is really been into graphic designing.
yeah,
I think it's also into marketing.
yeah.
I think some things like like strategist, business analyst. I think these are the sectors which are mostly hit by AI.
So
But I
software
also think,
development as well. I mean, software development's been
yeah,
hit hard as well. Yeah, yeah.
it's hit like it's really hard. I think because like probably I was thinking like, oh, like when I was a kid, I probably was thinking, okay, I'm going to learn uh, codes, I'm going to learn softwares, and then I am seeing AI code really complex things which I can't even imagine. So this left me wonder like where this we are heading. So I think since like I am also an AI enthusiast, I think we are more into AI niche. What I generally think, like for the people to be in better situation, we should always learn the AI trend. This is the worst thing we can do, like to not learn this AI
Great,
wave, like
agreed.
to
Yep.
not learn about AI. I
Mm-hmm.
think if we ignore this, we are the first who will be
Yep.
left behind.
100% agree.
And I think like someone like me, I think what I try my best to integrate AI into my life, like use it for my benefit. I think this is probably going to buy us more time if something like this is going to happen. But at present, I don't think I can imagine any scenarios, because if we see like AI is evolving really at massive speed. Like before a month, I didn't even like heard about a model of DeepSeek. I didn't like for the DeepSeek. I have something interesting. Like before getting it boomed out, before getting it uh, DeepSeek is only training from 3 days. I think 3 4 days. So I think before it even was trending, I had this podcast with a guy. He was Indonesian.
Mm-hmm.
He introduced me to DeepSeek.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So I get to try it before it was ever booming. I
Oh,
think,
wow.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So I don't like. I don't have like. I have been doing podcast with all different niche of people. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have that insight, like from project managers to hiring managers to uh, s- entrepreneurs. Like let's say I even had an opportunity to get in touch with a guy who was like really who have contributed really great in blockchain. Some of his works were even white labeled. So yeah, like everyone has been saying me this, like each and every industry is getting influenced by AI. Even my industry is digital marketing. I think
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
it's also getting really influenced by AI. It's also getting really influenced by technology like RAG. Even if we see in no code, it's also getting really influenced. I don't like at present. I don't see. I can't even imagine what is going to happen in next 5 years. But for now, like I totally agree with you. Let's just hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And for the worst part, I think let's try to learn uh everything, like not if not everything, let's try to learn what are the important ones. Like I don't think of a people on earth, like I don't think anyone on earth right now should be thinking, oh, what is chat gpt. I don't see there should exist
Yeah,
a
but there's a lot of
person like
people left behind. Like there's
yeah,
unfortunately there's a lot of people that I know in the schools. I've had an education background. There's a lot of kids that don't have internet access, right?
yeah,
And we take
still
that
yes,
for granted. And you got to imagine if they don't have internet access, they probably don't know what ChatGPT is, or definitely
yeah,
don't have access to it.
yeah,
So unfortunately, I think there's going to be people, as always, there's going to be people left behind.
yeah.
Um,
So
but it's the sad truth, but it is what it is. But no, I 100% agree with you that I saw someone said they made a statement. It's essentially what you just said. Is AI going to take our jobs today? No. Are we going to lose our jobs to AI? No. But
I
today
think yeah,
we're going to lose
yeah,
our jobs to someone that knows how to use AI. Is
yeah,
is is what someone said, and I think that's a
yeah,
really good explanation for at least where we are today. Is
yeah,
if you don't know it, as you said, you're gonna get left behind very quickly because it's just
yeah,
it's too it's as a business, coming at it from a business owner, it's like how can you ignore it? Like I having these views on AI, even I as a business owner can't be like, well, you know, I think this has some concerns, but like, am I not going to use it because would I rather, hire, an employee that will call out sick, 2
yeah,
days a month and is going to cost, going to ask for a raise in 2 years. I mean, yeah, certainly as a human, there's a benefit to that, but as a business owner, it's like you want to get every competitive advantage that you can, right? And
yeah,
your competitors are using AI. So if
yeah,
you don't, you're going to get left behind. And if you're trying to do it, using if you are trying to replace a job that can be done by AI by a human, that's just an extra cost that creates a lot of
yeah,
variables into that workflow that you could essentially eliminate. So as a business owner, it's tough to say no, I'm not going to use it because it it's hard, like it's just with all the costs of everything else going
yeah,
up, you've got to make choices for the benefit of the business to keep the business in play. And so it's one of those things where as a business owner you can't ignore it at all, or else
yeah,
you'll lose.
yeah. So I think everyone in this world is working and trying to earn a bread. I think so. Yeah, this is always clever to think like this is always good to have in mind some sorts of cost efficiency. I think this is what AI is entirely here because, um, like in previous year, if we take like when these model like Chat GPT, these were not around. We even for a content writer, we like even before 5 years from now, we like every business owner should think, okay, I should hire a content writer for anything, but now we have AI for that.
Hmm.
So this is something AI has done. Like still there are need of content writers, still there are needs of designers, but I think AI has
Hmm.
given us that offhand where small business owner or where a business owner who is a bit cost effective, because I think we all need to have good, what we say, we all need to have like a good business cost efficiency, because
Hmm.
like every business owner thinks, if I don't have to hire a content writer, I won't hire a content writer, because I should save some money, for maybe I can invest it in other ways which will benefit my business.
Hmm.
So I think this is what AI has done to the business, because before 5 to 10 years from now, every business owner should hire if they need content writer, but now they can even do that with AI. So I think uh, this is just an example. I think this has also benefited, but this also leaves me behind for thinking like uh, how these are going. Like this is one side of a coin. Everything comes with pros and cons, I think. So this also
Yeah.
left me thinking like, what about content writers? Like they were in demand, great demand 5 to 10 years before, and all of a sudden things like AI comes. Even like uh, content writers are still earning decent amount, really good amount, but I think this has affected some sort. This has
Oh,
decreased some sorts of demand.
has to.
I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
I can't
this
imagine it
is
not. Yeah.
yeah, this is something. I think this was something we should discuss, because even like I think if people like us want, who will? I think this is something we should always keep in
Yeah.
mind. Something, yeah. So
The conversation has to happen. Um,
yeah,
there's probably a lot of people don't realize it needs to happen, right? But I think it needs to happen. I mean, again, I
yeah,
probably gave an extreme example, but it's also one that if you play out is not unrealistic. And so if that worst case scenario happens with and people aren't prepared for it, that's going to come as a huge shock to people. You
yeah,
just if you're unprepared for it, that's a challenge. I mean, but no, I mean the flip side. I want to also stress like it's again, especially as a business owner, the what AI has been allowed us to do, and kind of we've been able to between no code and AI that I've been able to kind of create things that with a very small team be able to
yeah,
put out a tremendous amount of production without having a large team to do it. I mean, that's huge as a business owner. So I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, I'm benefiting from it right now, but I
yeah,
also because I've seen what it can do, and again, it just comes down to the speed at which it's evolving. That's really where I have the biggest concerns is that the speed is just accelerating. And so, but no, but that being said, I mean, we have used it. I've used it. I mean, if you call my business number right now, you'll get our
yeah,
AI voice agent. If you chat in
yeah,
our web, you'll get our AI chat agent. And and I'm using it in multiple other ways. And like I said, I'm building into a lot of tools that we're building, but it is a very, very powerful tool. But as they always say, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think it'd be silly of us to ignore it because there's going to be a lot of people that we talked about, the people that
yeah,
don't. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that fall in that bucket of haven't heard of ChatGPT.
yeah,
What's going to happen to them, right? And so, as a human, I feel like we at least have to have the conversation. But no, I agree with you. The conversation needs to be had,
yeah,
and at the very least. And like you said, let's have it. And then best case scenario, we don't. It turns out for the best, and great. At least we had a very interesting discussion about
yeah,
what kind of alternative plans and contingency plans of what we need to do. But yeah, no, hopefully, um, yeah, it's an interesting topic, no doubt.
yeah. I think this thing doesn't have an end. Like even if we spend an entire day and night discussing on this topic, this is not going to end, because even if we take any scenario, it's going to change and it's going to change and it's going to change, because at present I don't think there is any full stop for this AI. This is going to like really evolve in coming 10 years. This 10 years is going to be massive um, improvement. Like this in this 10-year, AI is going to evolve really massively. I even can't imagine like my even thinking can't match with what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I think, but like let's talk about worst case scenario. We should be at least I think we should have good knowledge for it. I think this is something we all should. So let's hope for better.
Yeah.
Let's. This
No,
is this is
like
something.
I
Yeah,
said, if we have the discussions, we can affect the outcome better, right? If we
yeah,
don't have the discussions, then we're letting the outcome happen. I think if we have the
yeah,
discussions, then we can affect the outcome, and I think that's why it's important to have the discussions.
yeah. It's always better to have a discussion that is really controversial, even if this because this thing is really less talked. I think there are only few people talking about this thing because uh, even like they are, it's rare thing to happen because when I come from AI background, you
Hmm.
come from AI background,
Hmm.
and this thing only can happen when two two people have same keen interest on AI, who
Hmm.
have some sorts of knowledge on AI. This
Hmm.
thing can only happen between people like us. I think I don't see someone who don't have that much expertise in AI and RAG and technology to talk these things. So yeah, it's always be great to have discussed these things. So yeah, personally, what I think there's only one tip I like. Even someone comes to me and ask like, give me one single advice for this entire century. I'll advise that person, man, go and just learn,
Hmm.
even if you can, the basic of AI. This is
Hmm.
something I will give him, even if it's going to have effect in job market, even if it's going to have effect in economy. This is something I'll tell him because I think let's worst case scenario like the people who are less known to AI is going to replace first rather than someone like me more who is more inclined to it. I think yeah, but at some point of time, even like I don't think you are thinking where I'm thinking right now. At some point of time, even people like us may be replaced by AI. I
I
don't know. Yeah,
100% have been thinking like so. I've been trying to do my best to figure out
yeah,
where I can protect myself. You know, what are the skills I can have, or what are the types of investments I can have. You know, like I talked about real estate. I
yeah.
feel like that's one area where no matter what happens, people are going to need
But
to,
yeah,
you know,
um,
so investing in real estate, things like that. So no, I 100% think that we can one day be replaced. Unfortunately, as much
yeah.
as irreplaceable as I'd like to think I am, I know that that's not the case.
I
Unfortunately,
think yeah, because I have that. Fortunately, I have also worked in real estate industry for a company. So I
yeah,
think yeah, I have some sorts of real estate insights too. I think investing in real estate um, can just back off for generational wealth, let's say.
yeah.
But this real estate industry is really affected by AI because uh, what I am hearing, like what I have seen from my experience, because previously, like I think real estate is more of launching ads. I think more of generating leads, more of trying for the sales and closing the deals. I think because yeah, and this entire real estate market has really great influence on with AI because previously business owners who were totally into real estate had to hire uh, like I just said you like had to hire content writer, had to hire this ad expert, had to hire this SEO expert,
Mhm.
had to hire this video designer, had to hire this video editors. But if we see right now, everything can be done with AI, right? Even AI is in SEO, even AI is all
Yeah.
in digital marketing, lead generation, customer management. I think it's everywhere, even on calls. I think, yeah, even real estate is getting influenced by AI. Even medicine is getting influenced by AI. I don't see its
Well, what I
end.
was talking about, just to be clear, is like investing in real estate because
Yeah,
I feel it. But to your point, though, I think right now the AI tools are such where yes, they can, but you still need to know the
yeah,
foundational. knowledge on SEO, the foundational
Yeah.
knowledge on ads management to effectively use them. So I don't think they're
Yeah.
at the point yet where it can
Yeah. This.
fully just flat
Yeah.
out replace them. But
Yeah.
that will come eventually. But I think as it stands right now, the people, and it goes back to what we talked about, right? Like, so if you have the foundational knowledge, plus you know how to use AI, then you know how to
Yeah.
use those tools effectively. But like I've
Yeah.
used the SEO tools, you still need to know the basics of SEO
Yeah.
to use them effectively. But
Yeah.
that eventually will probably go away. But that's where I think, you know, being the expert in your field and also then how to leverage AI in your field is the
Yeah.
best place to be right now.
Right now.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, but 100%. But yeah, I've used the tools, and I still feel like if you don't know how SEO works, you won't be able to leverage that tool effectively. If you do
Yeah.
know how SEO works, then you can do a whole lot with that tool, you know,
Yeah.
without, you know, with one person can do a whole lot of damage. So, but yeah, so
Yeah. So yeah, I come from this digital marketing background, and whenever I'm trying to do any SEO, whenever I'm trying to do things in my market, I feel like what I do personally. This I'm talking about my, because I had even bookmark a folder on my Google as an AI army. Yeah, this is
okay.
and there I have every AI tool for every sorts of thing I may need.
Interesting.
So whenever I'm doing anything, I feel like I have a team of people,
Yeah.
even I don't have anyone. So this is something which really amazes me. Like at currently, I'm enjoying my job due to AI. I am like feeling really uh, enjoying the process because I don't have to sit there and write entire blogs, entire this. I don't have to do many manual things. AI is there doing everything for me. Currently, I am enjoying the process, but I am also worried, like by seeing it capabilities, like what's going to happen after 5 to 10 years. Like
Mhm.
these tools are really evolving, and what if they can even replace me? What I will do at that time? This thing really makes me worried. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't think like any discussion has a conclusion to it. But yeah,
No,
it's
it won't.
always better to have a discussion for to prepare for the worst. I think yeah, it's always better to discuss things if we um, can't control what's coming in future.
Yeah.
So
1,000%.
yeah, so yeah, finally, let's look ahead. Where do you see uh, technology like RAG going in next few years? How should businesses prepare for this shift? Since we are more of RAG magazine, this is what our niche is. So how do you see businesses getting affected with tools like RAG? Because this is something totally new. Like most of the people in this world doesn't know what the RAG is. So this is between just me and you, two AI enthusiasts talking. So where do you see uh, technology like RAG, and even if there is any technology which is going to come and influence business greatly? So what do you think on this? I would love to hear that from you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just, I think it's really, I've seen people start to experiment with the source data, right? I've seen
Yeah,
people put in business plans, Excel sheets, just start to just put more and more types of different types of data into it, and then try and push the boundaries of what it can get back from an analysis standpoint. And I've seen a lot of consultants, like I say, put profit and loss statements into in Excel sheets
yeah,
into AI models, and then say, hey, write a financial analysis on XYZ. And so I think that's where we're gonna just get people um, start to experiment with the source data,
yeah,
it's source data and prompting, really. Well, that's what it comes down to, right? I'm sure they'll start to have new models that can do some additional things. But I think it just comes down to um, business owners in particular just experimenting with testing the limits of what the technology can do, and then it's
Yeah.
just self-fulfilling because the more it gets tested, the more data it gets, then it just increases the capabilities of it. So I think that's really what it comes down to. I've done some training. It's interesting. I've done some work, with AI training, and I just think it's just interesting to see um, how you how the AI takes the knowledge and then just keeps building on it. And so I think yeah, to me, I think it's just really going to be what we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years is just people testing. There's going to be different people that are going to think of different use cases and different ways to utilize it, and then that's gonna be, I think, where the innovation and the exciting things happen. And that's what we've seen on the no code side
Yeah.
is ChatGPT is out there for everyone. But what we've seen is utilizing ChatGPT, and now maybe we'll see more of DeepSeek applying it to a very, very specific use case. And then I think we'll just see more of these little niche use cases that people are applying these models on. And I think that's where you'll see some interesting things happen.
Yeah. So yeah, this was, I think, one of the most insightful conversation which I had um, recently. So well,
I hope it wasn't one of the
um,
most depressing.
it was like
Yeah,
really. This was one of the few conversation which made me really think. I think
yeah.
this was one of the few conversation where I had uh, to really think deeply, really come up with uh, like really I had to brainstorm different things. I think this was really interesting. I really enjoyed it 1000%.
I did as well. I
Yeah.
appreciate
So
you having me. Yep.
yeah. So well, that's wrap up for the episode of Chetika, the Rag magazine. We have learned a lot about retrieval augmented generation, AI, no code. So yeah, Zhang, really thank you for breaking your time. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed this episode personally. I really I learned a lot of things from this episode personally. So I think yeah, we will be able to provide value to all our audience. So really thank you for being with me today.
Oh, it was my pleasure, and I enjoyed the conversation as well. So, I don't have these types of conversations all the time, so I
Yeah,
definitely learned it as well, and it's always kind of good to hear other people's perspective on
yeah,
kind of what's happening, especially someone that's in the industry that knows that like you said that has the know-how.
yeah. So yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone. Even thank you, Zan, for turning in. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to Chitika, the Rag magazine. I'll be also linking Zhang handles, so you can surely check his handle and his company out. They are really doing great things, really uh, influencing the entire tech market. I think they are really doing awesome stuff. We also learn. Uh, I think this is what is going to help in coming future. We all should learn from each other. We all should learn from someone who has been in tech market, who has been in job market. I think this um, into this new trend market, let's call it, because you are into no code and I am into rag. These
Mhm.
things are really emerging, things like AI. So I think it's always better to learn from industry expert. So yeah, I'll be linking your handles and your company handles, so our audience can check them out and learn. And it was really great having you on Chitika, the Rag magazine. I think hopefully in future we'll again have a really insightful conversation like this. Really, thank you for being with me today. It was
Thank
really
you.
been pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.